setting that up.
Okay, let me just start the session.
Let me just start the session for day 3 of the Rang Festival 2020, which is an art festival designed by organized by ARH Design Academy. Today's 1 p.m. session is about model making and prototyping in design. And Fahim and Nikhil, who both are from SPA, are going to take this. So, stage to you, Fahim and Nikhil. Thank you.
So yeah, can you guys see our screen right now?
Yeah, I can see your screen, yes.
Just mute kar do, no? Speaker. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is bringing ideas to life and the importance of prototyping and model making. So prototyping is actually just another word for model making that we use in the field of industrial design. So but both essentially they are the same thing. So we'll go into it. So we'll talk about the importance of model making and prototyping, the different materials that we use while model making and prototyping, the process, and how you take it forward. So the importance of model making and prototyping. So basically, the first importance of physical model making and prototyping comes from the fact that you need to understand the true dimensions and scale of your design. So understanding and in the design process, like we had a few sessions previously too, where we had guests talking about different fields of design. So there is a process involved in design. So when we talk about conceptualization, when we talk about the research steps, these are very important steps of design. So we do it initially. And once we understand those steps, we need to test our design further, basically. And we need to understand how our design will impact people in real life. So we need to give that connect to your design and real life. And physical model making is the way to do that, basically. Nowadays, through various advances in 3D visualizations, we have a lot of softwares that help us visualize the 3D space very effectively. But still, even in today's age, after all the explosion of 3D designing softwares, I would say, uh, there is still an importance for physical model making and prototyping, because uh, after 3D physical, after you make your 3D visualization, it is still on screen. So you don't have the actual dimensions in your hand, and to understand and to empathize with the user better, I would say, you need to understand it in the real life. So we get an opportunity to test features of design beforehand. So in terms of textures, in terms of colors, in terms of details, in terms of actual working of design. So we can make a lot of models to test each and every feature of our design. So once we know that we have a whole load of materials for us available to actually test and to explore our design further and to give more depth to our design, we go forward and make physical models, basically. So now that we touched upon the importance of model making and understanding the true dimensions and scale of design in realistic terms, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the different materials that are used in our design. So to make it easier for everyone, we have tried to categorize the materials used under 3 categories. So we have our soft materials, which are basically softer to touch. It's basically a comparative uh, categorization. So soft materials, hard materials, in which we'll be talking about wood and we'll be talking about plastics, and we have our finishing materials where we add in all the details uh, of our design, basically to give more connection to our design, so that it doesn't just look like any generic design. So soft materials. So when we talk about soft materials, we have basically three types. We have paper-based materials, we have rubber-based materials, and we have foam-based materials. So when we talk about paper-based materials, we have in today's age, in terms of manufacturing advances and everything, we have a whole range of papers available for us right now to test in terms of texture, in terms of color, in terms of thicknesses. So just with one material, paper, we have a lot of creative liberty to explore all our designs through the textures and different colors. So yeah, so different. So nowadays, before paper was handmade, so it was invented in China, and it was a very secretly guarded process of making paper. So for a lot of years, people all around the world were not access. It was not an accessible material for everyone, basically. And but with the advent of the technology traveling through the Silk Route, and it just what would you say? It just expanded throughout the whole world, and people got to know the importance of paper very much. And from our humble handmade paper varieties, we have a few paper varieties to show you guys. So this is by a company called Argo Wiggins. Yes, yeah, all right, yeah. So Argo Wiggins is a very prominent company in the paper industry at the moment, and they have a wide range of. This is just one catalog of theirs, basically, and we have a wide range of colors and textures. I don't know if you guys are able to see the texture, but it's yeah. You can see the range of colors, at least the different shades of white. They have at least 15 shades of white. It denotes the different textures of white, basically. So with just white, you can play around with a lot of texture. It's not just about color. So with just white. So another brand that is very popular is Cordonons, and we have another swatch pad which talks us about the range of. Uh, we have our papers, range of papers. So when they talk about range of papers, so I'll take an example of a paper, basically. Yeah. So when we talk about papers, they now have a name for the paper. Can you guys see it? Yeah. Yeah. So there is a name for the paper, and there are different uh, GSMs that is available for the same texture and color of the paper. So we have a wide range of uh, creative liberty at the moment with just one material at the moment. So in terms of rapid prototyping is basically making prototypes quickly for the purpose of understanding just a few quick features of your design, basically. So you don't want to make the whole detailed model while you rapid prototype. You just test. For example, you just want to test how the wind shade is going to look against your window. So you just make a quick model of the wind shade and place it against the sunlight. So it is a very accurate depiction of how light enters into your window, and you can gauge it very easily by just uh, by just having paper and just having those cutouts. It's so simple, basically. So now that we talked about different kinds of paper, we'll talk about different rubber-based kind of materials. So rubber traditionally was made of latex from the rubber tree. It was the milk was tapped from the tree of the rubber tree basically, and it was dried and it was made in form of sheets. So with the advent of polymers and the petroleum industry, we now have a range of materials that we can make rubber. We can make materials which have properties like rubber. So now, do we have a few examples? So a few examples of rubber-based this is Etherflex. So we have this is sunboard basically. Sunboard or foam board also it's called generically in this. So this is heavily used in the packaging industry. This material because it's slightly flexible. You guys see the slight flex, but it comes back. It has a very good structural integrity also. So and like we have seen, this is the original color of the sunboard, but we have pasted another color, so another texture. So we can play with different textures, but when we want strength, we use materials like this. So sunboard is one kind of material, we call it foam board, and then we have Etherflex, which is a rubber-based material. We have a Etherflex. Sorry. Sorry, we don't have an Etherflex piece. One second. Yeah, so I will talk about, so while Nikhil is getting it for us, we'll talk about our foam-based materials. So, one second.
Fahim, in the meantime, I would like to tell you, they know about, they have worked a little bit on the foam board part. So we had this Pathfinder batch, जिसमें they had worked on foam board. So they have a little idea about foam board. They made some. Can I show you some of their work?
Yeah, sure. Then I'll have a
Just give me a second in the meantime, yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we haven't.
Yeah. So this is what they have done with the foam board. Let me show you there. So this is Vedanti's model.
Okay, nice.
So
a little bit of form exploration and
right,
everything with foam board, right? So this is the same material basically we're talking about. So this is Etherflex, very springy, comes back into its. This comes in variety of thicknesses. Now this is 5 mm thickness Etherflex, but it comes from 1 mm all the way to a few centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters basically. So you have it in wide range of thicknesses. This is the material that is used in a variety of chappals and slippers that are available in the market. The cheap ones are used from this material basically. So the place where we go to source this material is basically an industry for the slipper industry also. So now we have foam-based materials. So we have a few foam-based materials also to talk you about. So foam-based materials are basically became more popular with the discovery of petroleum actually, because all the foam-based compounds are derived from petroleum derivatives. So they're all polymers. They're all polymer-based. So we have our very popular thermocol, which is basically styrofoam, and then we have styrofoam again. So there are two kinds of styrofoam basically. One is the extruded and one is the expanded. So the thermocol that we see is one type of the styrofoam, and the styrofoam that we call generically is the extruded one. So the extruded styrofoam basically gives more strength. So through the process of extrusion in the manufacturing, it gives us more strength. So yeah, so we have a piece of styrofoam. It's a pretty big piece basically.
Oh.
This is we yeah. So this is our styrofoam. I'll break a piece for you guys. So this is basically it comes in a variety of colors, but if you can see the texture, it's pretty dense styrofoam. But thermocol, like you guys know, everyone has worked with thermocol. Thermocol is expanded styrofoam. So it is basically the same chemical composition, but the difference in the manufacturing process gives the difference in your materials basically. So we have PU foam, which is polyurethane foam, which is used in a variety of industries right now. A lot of foam mattresses that you can see right now is actually PU foam, which is very springy. And PU foam also comes in this texture that which is this what do you say, structurally stable also. So you have a wide range of just PU foam also, which is springy like the foam mattresses in your mattress, and hard, which is this hard as extruded styrofoam basically. So I have a few models that I made in PU foam also that I will be showing you guys through the process. So we talked about soft materials. Then we have hard materials. And basically we categorized it into wood-based and plastic-based. So in wood-based materials, this is a very popular kind of wood that is used in model making, which is called balsa wood.
What is
And
this?
it also comes in, this is the thinnest balsa wood that is available, and it comes from thicknesses starting from this. So this is around, they call it 3 mm, but it's less than 3 mm basically. So, and it comes in sheets, it comes in rods. And the good part about balsa wood is it is a
What is
soft wood.
this?
Again, it's like, and you can cut it with your normal any cutter. So it's very soft. So we have our this, and then we have MDF, which is medium density fiberboard, which is used in a lot of furniture making and all around you. So I think I'm not going to touch upon the other varieties of wood, just going to touch because it's all around us basically. MDF, plywood, blockboard, and chipboard, all these kinds of wood and wood battens basically. So all these different kinds of wood materials are available for us to do this. And then we have plastic based materials, which I want to briefly touch upon, where we have acrylic. We have then this is HIP, which is very flexible again and very strong. But the advantage of using HIP over acrylic, this is acrylic, and is that I'll tell you the advantage of acrylic versus HIP. Basically, both has its advantages and its disadvantages. So this is acrylic. The advantage of acrylic is that it comes in various transparencies, and it is pretty strong, and you can get a wide range of transparencies from clear to frosted. This is a frosted where you can see my fingers through this, and it comes in different solid colors also. But HIP, yeah, this is white acrylic. It comes in solid color also. And but the difference with HIP is that HIP comes in thin forms. It can be cut with a cutter, but it's not so easy to cut with a cutter. But it can be. Unlike acrylic, which you cannot. Please don't try cutting acrylic at home with a normal cutter. You will cut your hand. So we have tried and tested it. We have cut a lot of hands like that. So so we have already done that testing for you. So please don't do that. And but you can cut HIP with cutter. So that's the advantage of using HIP. So if you don't have access to laser cutting machines, which we'll be talking about later. You need to use a plastic base.
Fahim, just a second. If you are explaining the material visually, na, you can stop the screen sharing so that we can see on a bigger window.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, you guys are not able to see the window.
So they can see you, but on a smaller window. Yeah, perfect.
So, yeah. Sorry, guys. So as you can see, this HIP is has one texture on one side, another texture on the other side. So there are lots of range of HIPs also that are available for you to explore, and I'll show you the acrylic again with the clear one. And this is so this acrylic has some kind of transparency always, right? As you can see, but HIP is opaque completely. So that is another advantage of using HIP over acrylic also. And acrylic versus HIP again, where if you want to make light fixtures and everything where you need the transparency feature, you would use acrylic, you wouldn't use HIP. But you want an opaque structure where you don't want light to come out, you would use HIP basically. So this is, and then we have OHP sheets, which is basically the first sheet of all your files, which is again a plastic clear sheet, which comes in very thin. So we use it for cutting windows. And then we have polycarbonate sheets again, which is a stronger version of OHP, which is used. So we don't have, sorry. So this is another variety of HIP, again very thin. So this you can easily cut with a cutter, and it's plastic. So a very good material which professional model makers use to make their models. And this is the top most preferred material for model makers. If you can see professional models, 90% of the models I would say are made with primarily with HIP. So it's a very versatile material. So we have, now that we talked about HIP, now we'll talk about, yeah. So now we'll be talking about the model making process in general. So we have our timeline. So like for anything, like the famous quote says, starting without a plan is planning to fail basically. So you need to have a plan in mind when you make a model. So without having a clear-cut plan in mind, it's not possible to envision the model very effectively. So you don't need a very detailed. So what we're trying to show is that this planning just takes a little while. It does not take a long time. But doing this beforehand just eases a lot of things for you. So deciding materials and sourcing is the very first thing that we'll be talking about. So deciding your material, basically what kind of material that you need for your project, for your design, is the first step that you would decide, because a lot of features of your design can't be shown by a few materials. For example, or vice versa, you would have to do the other thing. You would have to search for materials which go forward with your design. For example, like I took the example of a light. If you're designing a lighting fixture, you need a transparent material where light would go. So automatically you cannot use HIP, you cannot use foam board. So you would look for transparent materials like acrylic and polycarbonate and stuff like that. So deciding your materials and sourcing where to source them from, and knowing what you can get around you. These three things are very important to know. So you can make your model, your physical model, only within these boundaries. And the rest of the three processes that we show, the cutting, pasting, fixing, and the finishing details, are all linked to you deciding those materials and sourcing it in the first place. So if you cannot source the material, you won't be able to show it in your design basically. So you'll have to think of another way of showing it. So that's the very first step. So then we have Then we have our cutting, where we talk about laser cutting and our hand cutting. We have different kinds of blades and cutters that we have talked about. Sorry, we don't have photos to show. So this is a surgical X-Acto knife that they call, which is very popular in precise cutting. So everyone has used the basic 10 cutters and the 20 18 cutters that you get very popularly, and the scissors. So these two are obviously the most easiest way, but to do precise cutting, you need a blade like this. So I'll show you guys the blade. So the blade has a very pointed edge, so it gives very precise control, and you can hold it better also. So just having the right tools just increases and decides your quality and output very much. So, and then we have laser cutting, which is very popular at the moment. So everyone is that is the easy way to deal with cutting basically right now. So, but you need to prepare a CAD or a drawing file for it first. So that's a very important step that people miss out on. So laser cutting might be a very easy step. It might ease your cutting a little bit. You won't have to cut by hand and get all these tools, cut your fingers and everything. But it it needs a lot of work beforehand. So you need to prepare your CAD files very well. The CAD files need to be in a polyline and everything, and there are a lot of details. So if you get in touch with your laser cutting operator, he will let you know, he or she will let you know all the things that are necessary, should be there in your drawing. So you should talk to your laser cutting operator first, because every laser cutting machine has its own specifications. So getting your drawing made also to those specifications is also important. And so we talked about cutting. So basically hand cutting and then machine cutting. So machine cutting, again, another kind of machine cutter is a router cutter. So wait, I will show you. Yeah. So this is basically a router cutter. These are very huge cutters. 6 feet by 8 feet. 4 feet by 8 feet. Yeah. So we can cut wood, we can cut plastic, we can cut a wide variety of things with this router cutting CNC machine. So this also gives us a lot of advantage, but the disadvantage of router machine versus a laser cutter machine is that laser cutting can do very precise work, 1, 2 3 work, but a router cutter has a larger tolerance. Like you can see, it's a bigger machine, so it has larger tolerances also to work with. So you need to, I can show you a router bit also, which is, so yeah. So it is basically a range of router bits, which is drilling and cutting your material. So you can obviously not do very precise work. So that is our this. 1 second, guys. It's a little bit of a.
We can see your screen. Like we can see you now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will start the screen share again. 1 second. So,
yeah, your screen is on.
Yeah. So now we talked about different kinds of cutting methods. Now we'll talk about pasting and fixing. So pasting and fixing in terms of architectural model making. is you have a wide range of glues available from Fevicol. Fevicol Pidilite is a company which manufactures a range of adhesives for you, from all the way from Fevicol MR to M-Seal to epoxy resins to everything. So we'll talk a little bit about that also. So it's a wide range. So I have a few this also. One second. One second. So this is our Fevicol SH, which is our most basic, which is a higher version of the Fevicol MR that you get. So don't be fooled by the box. It looks white and everything, but it's the same white formula, but this is much more
Your screen is shared.
Yeah. So yeah, SH. So this is much more suited for sticking MDF and wood-based materials. So this is a product that is not so. It's relatively inexpensive when you compare it in the adhesive scale, and it has a very good adhesive strength also compared to your MR and your normal craft glue that you get. So that is one thing. Then you have synthetic rubber adhesives that is used to synthetic rubber adhesives also, no? Fevibond, yeah. So that is Fevibond, and one second, we are holding that also. So yeah, this is this is a this is a can of synthetic rubber adhesive, which is so this is a new can. I cannot open it for you guys, otherwise it will dry out. So that is another learning that you can get. That's in glues and everything. You should always keep it airtight and keep it placed. So that is so basically we have our white glue and range of white glues from Fevicol MR to Fevicol SH, and then we have rubber adhesive that we showed, which ranges from tubes like Fevibond, and then which comes in cans like this. And another very popular method of fixing is a glue gun. Basically, we don't have a glue gun to show you guys right now, so I will. So you guys would have seen a glue gun basically. So the glue gun is also basically a very easy way to stick and paste things right now. So that we talked about pasting and fixing, and then the last part is finishing and detailing, where you add all your paints and finishes.
Share your screen. Share your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to go. Good to go.
Yeah. So, and the last stage would be deciding your finishing and details basically. So deciding all your finishing and details in terms of paint, in terms of textures, in terms of colors. So if you're choosing the range of colors from this book, then there is not much to think. You have already thought about that in the first step itself. But like you said, like if we're using materials like acrylic, like HIP, we need to finish it with a paint coat also. We might have to fill in gaps with putty or some kind of fillers. And we need to think about the other kind of fixtures, like we talked about making a light. So we need to source the LED or the bulb also, and the circuit also for it. So those are also the materials that you need. So we have a few paint based materials also to show you. So yeah. So this is Asian Acrylic. This is enamel paint. So the first kind of paint is basically emulsion paint, which is an oil-based paint, of course. And you can use it by a brush, or we use the spray gun also. Yes. So a spray gun is another modern way of using. Spray guns are very cheap and effective way of effectively spraying, and very easily. So another thing that we have, the spray gun. Yeah. Then we have spray cans, of course, which help us give a very even finish, which is the cheaper alternative to buying a spray gun. But if you're doing a lot of spraying work, it is advisable to buy a spray gun rather than buying a spray can all the time. Then you have a wide range of finishes to work with. Buying a spray gun, the advantage is that you can put this paint also. You can put literally any paint into that spray gun, and you can paint it. So you have again creative liberty to talk about. And then the clear coat also we had, right? Yeah, that's it. So these are some things that we had to show. So now we'll show you a few models, and then we'll try to explain it.
Fahim screen.
Yeah. Wait. I'm just.
मैंने भेजा था ना तुम्हें.
भेजा तुमने.
100.
1 second, guys.
So let's talk about soft materials.
So first we'll talk about a few soft material models that we have. Wait. So yeah, can you guys see the screen?
Yeah, can see your screen now.
Yes.
Yes, can see your screen now.
So this is a model that we have made with a range of soft materials that we talked about. So you can see paper that we have used to make the steps. We have used paper to make the trees also, to depict the trees also, and a few bushes we have used cotton buds. So this is a method of showing something when you have paper and you want to show a few contours and stuff like that, and you don't have a range of materials to work with, basically, right? So this is basically paper and different kinds of paper, which you can see different textures of paper.
These are two different textures of paper.
Yes.
So this one we used in the roof. It's a plain texture of lines. There's another type of texture paper here we have in the walls. So we can differentiate easily with the walls and the roof.
And when you place them in light, they glow differently also.
Yeah, that's the quality of the paper.
That's the quality of the paper, right?
Yes.
So this is, yes.
The contours are made from foam board, right? This is the Etherflex.
Etherflex.
2 mm Etherflex applied with the Brazilian sheet. So we can see the soft materials, range of soft materials. We have rubber, we've used cotton, we have used paper, and a lot of adhesives that we use.
So basically, oh yes, sorry guys, I missed out on talking about Etherflex in this, right? We missed up on that.
No, we talked.
No, in this. So the Etherflex is used, the adhesive that we use to stick Etherflex is the synthetic resin adhesive. Not the Fevicol SS. So that's an important point that we want to make also in this. And because the bond that happens between rubber sheets is not so effective when you use Fevicol, the white Fevicol glue. You need a synthetic resin adhesive. So that is one point, and we have used Etherflex in these sheets. So this is another.
Another model which made by you say cardboard.
It's a harder version of paper again in this, but again we have used
chalky board also.
Paper.
Yeah, this is soft materials.
This is the hardest variety of paper available, which is called the box board, and we have used a range of materials in this.
Yeah.
So, but it's all again paper, and the base is only MDF plyboard, like you said, like you can see. But all of that is laser cut. The patterns that you can see on the jalis and everything. So
this is also a paper model.
This is again soft paper model.
Various colors of papers.
In this model, the contours are also made with paper. So we have used a thick variety of paper in this, which shows a thicker gradation.
All laser cut.
This is also laser cut.
So here we have another model, paper and cardboard. So it's mixed with two materials. So all the contours made by box board, and all the walls are also thick paper.
And this is also laser cut. You can see the windows detail.
Very difficult to make the drawing. Very too difficult.
So this is
another model of paper work we have. Yes.
This is the same model
that we talked about.
We talked about a different view where you can see the ether flex right now. Yes. So we talked about soft materials.
There are a few more.
There are a few more soft materials.
Show all the photos. Share. He's watching.
Okay.
So
these are conceptual models basically. So this is another way of showing. These are very quick to make models. This is everything cut by hand. This is cut by hand. This has no laser cutting involved. So there is
Fahim, your screen, I can see the thumbnails on the screen, not the enlarged picture.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Perfect.
This is another view.
It's a very quick model.
Quick model to basically understand how this space is going to work. So it's just paper. It's thin paper, and which is cut quickly into shapes. So this is another model.
So here we have contours with the MDF and sunboards.
Yes. So the white that you can see is sunboard, and which is laser cut, and the brown that you can see is MDF. So the contours are made in a mixture of MDF and to show the difference in the river bank and the other context. So you can use a variety of materials like this to show the difference. This is another paper model.
Yeah, this is fully total paper model. Nothing else.
This has only paper. All the details that you can see are paper. And the parking lines are again, these are etched on paper.
Laser cutting etching.
So this is done through laser cutting etching, where you give a lower intensity to your laser cutter. So you need to talk to your laser cutter operator for that. That's the importance of knowing your laser cutter.
This is also cardboard and paper.
This is another view of the. So this is again a mix of cardboard and
paper on the elevation.
And paper on the elevation, textured paper again. And as you can see, the various details are again cardboard. So this is another one.
This is a highway model. It's made by paper. made of paper with lightings and acrylic box covered. Yeah.
So
This is all paper. So we have this blue paper, and then these are the lines we have. That's actually cut from the blue paper, so you can see the down paper. So these are not etching lines or colored lines. These are actual cutouts from the blue paper. So this is a professional model, we can call.
so this is
Very minute details.
So this is professional work.
Yeah, this is also not architecture work. This is a transportation work, basically. So we take forward to model make.
So yeah, so this
was a section of soft materials.
So yeah, so we talked about soft materials now.
And we have rubber based materials.
Then we have
share screen share. So here we have in this section made of sunboard with paper, and we used Etherflex in this, and also thermocol. So this is hybrid model with the paper and rubber materials. So here we have Etherflex and sunboard with paper, and the base is also with the finished with Etherflex, and then we have plywood, very thin plywood. This is entirely sunboard model with lighting, so focused on lighting. So there's a light that you can see slit. There's a fan also that you see that's working. So this was a working model.
you can see
We have switches and all.
So there are switches.
So bedroom model with, yeah, entirely with sunboard, so you can see.
So this was a model to test the lighting.
A very quick model.
Quick model to test the lighting, how the lighting would behave in a room, and these switches have different kinds of lighting effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have another.
So this is another shade of the light that we have. The same model, and the fan is also working, so you can see.
We have your
Fan.
The fan is rotating in this photo actually.
Share. So there we have fully Etherflex model.
Again, we have an Etherflex. So this all that you can see is made from the same Etherflex that we had shown.
The green Etherflex, 5 mm thick.
So we have, and then the model is made with paper again to get the minute details of the roof and everything.
Yeah. So this is a rubber-based
So
section.
this was a rubber-based model.
So now we have hard materials based models. Okay. क्लिक करो इसमें. Yeah, so here we have solid white acrylic model with also used ether blacks and paper. So this is mixed with 3 types of materials. This is also acrylic model. You can see the blue acrylic with yellow paper, and the rest of the thing is MDF in the context. Yeah, and then we have solid, this, what do you call this? The tree for the tree.
Those are actually steel ball bearings that is used to depict the trees. So there are variety of ways that you can use to depict the trees at this scale. When you're talking about 1:1000 models, 1:500 models, the scales that we talk about in architectural design are these. So we start from 1:50 basically, all the way till 1:1000 for UD and urban design and everything. 1:25 is the scale that we show in architecture for details, while in design, industrial design, it is the opposite actually. So in industrial design, when we talk about prototypes, we design prototypes at 1:1 scale. So that is a very important distinction between prototyping and model making in architecture. So it's the distinction is between scales. So the scales that we talk about in architecture starts from 1:25, while the scales that we talk in product design end at 1:25, and we go below that, starting from anything from 1:1, and we make detailed blow up models too. So these are again acrylic cut models. The louvers that you can see is red acrylic for details, and acrylic also is used for the facade of the building. And we have used frosted acrylic behind the white acrylic also to show the windows.
Fully acrylic model.
So this was a complete acrylic model that we had made, where we used a range of acrylic materials, basically from red acrylic to white acrylic to frosted acrylic.
And MDF on the context.
Yes, and we used MDF for the context. Zoom करता है प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है. Zoom करता है ना. One second, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So this was a paper with MDF model with supporting Etherflex used. So we can see the hardwood work here with the MDF, all laser cut MDF, and the facade is with the paper, the different types of papers that we use to show the different types of materials used in the facade in the design.
You can see the details.
So there were a range of details, so we need to use the range of materials, range of papers basically. Yeah, so we have a zoom picture for that also. The other picture, we have another picture. doing these.
zoom कर रहा है ना
Yeah, इसको हटाओ. Share. So yeah, this is another picture of the same model.
another view where you can see the
So this is a top view of that model. So here is a detailed picture of this. So as you can see the different types of facade treatments that have been done in the design. So the depiction of the design in the various modes. So we need to use the different types of papers to make the feel that the depth also with the changing color in the facade. Another, yeah. So now we can go ahead with the and show some professional models that came in. So there is a very there's a very different
approach.
Yeah, very different.
There's a very different when we talk. So all this that we showed till now were actually college work.
Fahim, screen.
Yes.
Your screen. Yeah.
Your screen.
That was just
So yeah. So all the work that we talked about was college work till now. How we can approach models in college. So we have a limitation in materials, in budget, in terms of a lot of things when we design models in college.
also we have less time to.
And we have less time also. Time is another luxury that we don't have in college. So, but when we talk about professional models, we get time, we get a budget to work with. So there's a whole different approach that you apply with professional model making. So as you can see, there is a difference in materials also that we use.
There's also a difference in the scale also.
In the scale also that we show.
We used to make models in 1:500, 1:1000. We rarely go for 1:200, 1:100. So
in college, basically, once you reach a certain stage in college, from third year, in fourth year, in fifth year. Okay, I think our Instagram
में 1 घंटा हो गया तो वो बंद हो गया. We'll continue here. It's okay. Not a problem.
Our Instagram is over, no?
Yeah.
So can I switch on the speaker in this?
हाँ अभी you can do it.
Abhi I can do, no? I can hear you. Yeah. So yeah. So in this model we have used HIP. We have used frosted clear acrylic also for the railing and everything, and we have real life looking trees also, and we have realistic cars also, and certain shine also to the model. When we talk about professional models, one thing that people focus upon is the shine also, the finishing. So the models need to be very well finished, so that there is no compromise to that. While in college, it's about showing your idea effectively in college, but when you take it to professional work, it's as your output is as important also. So this is another model that you can see.
So here we can see the difference between our base styles also. So look at the base, look at the size of the base. Here we have like 9 feet long base by 6 feet
wide.
Yeah.
So this base is, so this is unimaginable in when you talk about college work. So you never make I mean, if you make a 9 feet model also, that would be a highlight of your college education. Very rarely people make 9 feet 10 feet long models in college. Like, there are people, yes, they are called that's called passion. So this is a 9 feet wide model, which again HIP on the facade, and we have used HIP on the base also. And there is, since this is taken in the day, you cannot see the lighting, but there is lighting also in this model where the street lights light up.
Also the cars lights.
And the cars also are also connected. In this model, the cars also are connected to the lighting.
Yeah. This is also a professional work of a temple. So a lot of finishings here, a lot of very small detail work, as we can see. Here we can see the railings that depicts exactly how it's gonna be in the construction.
Let's zoom in for you guys. See the details.
It looks like a real thing though, because of the human figure.
Because it's placed in the real context.
Right. Yes.
So this is the importance of clicking. We should. There were a few bad photos that we had previously, so I think you can contrast it with this photo and having an effective context also with your model. How effectively it adds to your model also. So clicking a good photo is also as important as making the model, right? So that's the. हमने zoom in कर लिया ना.
If you can go to see all photos में ना, I think हाँ, yeah.
So here is another model.
This is a detailed model.
Yeah,
it's a housing which shows
1:50 scale. So scale is also very much visible. These are some professional works.
This is a mall, right?
Yeah, it's a mall.
This was a mall.
And this is fully done with MDF. Not done by us, some professionals done it.
So this we did not do, but we wanted to show you this model because how a mall is envisioned by professionals. This is another model. Some of the details.
Yeah, there is very less paperwork used in these models. A lot of solid materials, all the acrylic MDF used in those materials. For texture, they usually color, they used to make textures and use in the
See, the difference in not using paper in professional models comes by the fact that professional models need to be made permanent. While college models, you make it for your semester. You need to show your design effectively. You have a budget. So the best material obviously would be paper, because right now you have a wide range of papers. But when it comes to the permanence of the model, you need the model to remain in an office inside a mall for like for a year, for 2 years maybe. So we don't know these parameters. Basically, it's not in our hands.
So this is engineering model.
So this is an engineering model, yes, which shows the details of pulleys and
all done by MDF.
So this is an MDF cut model, and which has been pasted with Fevicol SH. And this shine
comes with the color.
Is also dependent on the paint that you would use on the outside finish. So if you would use a glossy paint, you would get a shiny finish. If you use a matte paint, you would get that matte finish. So choosing that also becomes very important. So in this case, we had to show a glossy steel structure. So it is more wherever the light is visible, as you can see, it glows. So where there is no light, it does not. So this is another model
done by Jaipur. It's in the Jaipur, right?
Yeah, this is in Jaipur.
So some Mughal garden.
As you can see, I've depicted the Mughal gardens along with the resort.
Look at the chhatri here in
the chhatri detail also.
And you can see the human figures also in this photo. Look at the types of trees that they are placed.
So again,
so this was a journey of models.
So yeah, we have another.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the more detailed version of the same temple that we had shown earlier.
Now this is Jodhpur hotel model.
This is this is another.
So this is Rajasthan architecture.
This is another.
Blending with Mughal. Yeah, this is the front view of that hotel. Almost realistic feels here in these models. Yeah.
So when you talk professionally, it's more about the showing your idea is through realism. Basically, people want to see exact reality happening in the models. So when we talk about professional models, always we try to touch as close to realism as possible. But that need not be the case. But that is the standard at the moment in the professional industry. So everyone is looking for ultra hyper realism that we talk about in art right now. So
show some ID work.
So I have a few. So this was basically we were talking about. So we were talking about model making work. So I will show you a few industrial design prototyping work also that we can so we can know how a bit of information into how prototyping is also done.
Share screen.
So yeah. So this material is polyurethane, PU foam, like we were talking about earlier. So this is the harder, denser version of polyurethane that we were talking about. So this helps us mold very precise shapes. So this was this project was basically we had to design uh, a product for a part, a kid's play toy basically. So we were envisioning different ideas for the same, and these are just two prototypes that we have made with PU foam. So here you can see I've used PU foam to differentiate. So in PU foam it gives us the advantage of making very detailed. So it holds details well also, and it's very easy to carve. So you can get very precise shapes, which is very necessary in industrial design. When we talk about industrial design, like I said earlier, I touched upon earlier, the difference in industrial design prototyping and architectural model making is the difference in scale. But when we talk about finishing and types of materials and everything, it's more or less the same, right? So this scale we were talking about is 1:5. This is a 1:5 scale model. So So that was basically an idea of how to do it before. So we tested a few forms basically, and then we fixed upon this form for the design. Now we need to test the prototype for more various other kinds of things also. So in this prototype, we actually put more details of our design basically, and the base of this model is also PU foam. But since this model has to have more details, we finished it with something called putty. So putty is used. So we have used normal wall cement paste putty, which is the cheapest form of putty available in any hardware store. So it basically helps us in filling in the gaps that we needed. So to make it more smoother, so like you can see in this, we have put putty to and sanded it after it's dried to get those curves along the edges. And this is the packet of putty also. So this is the, so and we have added a spring also in this one. So the seat in this model could spring up and down also. So we wanted to test another feature also in this model, unlike the previous prototype that we had made just in PU form. So this, so then we painted a base coat over it to test what the base coat should be. And no, this is 1:3 scale. So the previous one that we had shown was the earlier one. This one was 1:5, and this is 1:3. We were working on 1:3 scale. This one. So this, no. So this was the finished basically model that we had done. Here you can see we have the shade of yellow along that curve. We have the shade of white where we wanted, and then a screen in front and the spring also. So this is some other prototypes again, range of prototypes. So this was another prototype that I made for another toy. Again, this is a handheld toy. This is 1:1 scale now. So I just have a finished, I don't have the process photos for this. I just have a finished model of this. So again, this has been finished with putty and has been spray painted for the different, and this has been, the branding has also been written. So yes, this I wanted to show. Yes.
Anybody has any
so
questions?
basically at the end we had made 2 prototypes for the same thing. We had to, so in this prototype we could show just the form and basically how it looks. So we had to make another prototype for, to show how it would work also. So we wanted to test its actual working too. So we had to make another prototype for that, in which we did not concentrate again on the details. So when you make a working model, you don't concentrate much on the details. So the one on the left is a working model. The one on the right is a form model. So where we focused on the form and how it would be. So in the model on the left, which is working, we could, as you can see, we had placed. I don't have a video to show you guys, but I have a. One second. ये क्या हो गया?
क्या हुआ?
एक मिनट.
Yeah.
कुछ खुल नहीं रहा है. I think my Zoom. Working. 1 second. Okay. So yeah. So in this photo, as you can see, there are bubbles coming. So we had a model also. This was the working of this. This was a simple functionality where a kid would sit on the toy, and while springing up and down, there would be an interactive screen in front of him. So this was a representation of an interactive screen that, and so we filled it with water, and the kid would go up and down, and the water would also react accordingly. So this is another prototype that I had made to test the lighting effect. So I wanted to create a lighting effect. So this was another prototype. So you make very quick models to test and put in your light to test it. So this is another. So these are prototypes of a few kits, that travel kits that I had made. So this is another, I wanted to show you this because this shows another range of materials. So when we were talking about soft materials, we forgot to touch upon fabric and leather actually, which is a very important soft material that is used very much. So here I have used false leather actually. It's not leather, but to depict leather I've used Rexine. And the ones behind I had made with canvas. Those were my initial prototypes to test the form and everything before I made the actual prototypes in Rexine. So Rexine is a more expensive material, so I could not make my first prototype itself in Rexine. So I had to test my prototype first in less expensive materials to know more about my design. So I chose a cheaper fabric for that. So the ones you see behind are those ones, which I've used canvas, and the ones ahead are the Rexine ones. Where I've used Rexine, you can see the texture. So yeah. So I guess. So yeah, I guess we have covered most of the things that we can talk about. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Fahim,
Yes.
we'll take questions if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So I want to take questions also.
Are there any questions for them regarding model making?
Questions.
Can you
Any
get your video on, Fahim?
our how our presentation was. So honestly, guys, I want to make a what would you say?
Fahim, your
Like
video.
that this was our very first time that we're doing something like this.
Interaction.
So so hence the hesitation and everything. So this is the very first time. So I would love it if you guys would give in the feedback and everything also. So we can add in and we can have more sessions in future definitely.
Fahim, your video is paused, I guess. My video is on. Okay, one question that a lot of people have asked me previously: how is the SPA life?
Okay. So SPA life is actually, if everyone, it's unique for every SPA, I would say, right? It's not everyone does not see SPA in the same way.
Right.
So so for me I've spent my last 8 years in SPA. So Nikhil has also spent his last 8 years in SPA. So we have spent quite a lot of life part of our life actually in SPA. So it has defined our way of thinking. It has defined our way of how we approach things, basically, right? Like everything in terms of life philosophies, in terms of how we see design, how we see things around us, how we see family, how we see friends,
Right.
right? It defined every single minute detail of our lives, basically. So that's basically what an institution does to you. So any institution, it's not about the studies, it's not about the syllabus, it's not about the curriculum, right?
Right. Yes.
So it's 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 about all these other things of how you can deal with your life and how. So all the great institutions in the world which are known are all known for that, are all known for the kind of experience that they have
Right.
in the campus and all the learnings and things that you can apply in your general life. You know, anything apart from whatever you studied, I think I would put it in that way. Anything
Right.
apart from what you were supposed to study,
Right.
right? So in that way, SPA taught us a lot of things apart from architecture, right? A
Mhm.
lot of architectural stuff, yes.
Also gave us the freedom to.
So we gave you a sneak peek of all the architectural things and all the things that we could learn from this institution,
Correct.
right? We gave a sneak peek of that. And so we had the freedom to explore what we liked. So model making and prototyping and everything were fields of interest for us,
Right.
uh, compared to someone who is interested in sketching or like putting their ideas on paper more effectively. So we, being in SP, I think gave us that advantage
Correct.
of you know. So yeah, so that's basically in a nutshell life in SPA.
Yes.
Any more?
There is a one question that I have.
Yeah, sure,
How
sure.
much time model making really takes? Matlab, if I have a jury on 15th, let's say, so when should I start my model? Considering it's a general third year model on an average.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on scale, but then again, kitna time, how much
So
percentage of the time the model should consume, and how important it is to have a good model.
actually, this is something we did not touch upon in our presentation, and we did not touch upon that actually because there's a reason we did not touch upon that. There's a reason because it's very unique for every person. A person who's not interested in model making, will take 2 weeks more than a person who's more interested in model making, right?
Right.
It's I would see it in that way, basically.
Okay.
That's what my experience has shown me. So when
Right.
you talk about, so I think everyone should try to gauge it for themselves. You ask yourself, how good are you in model making, gauge your skills accordingly, and add 1 week to that.
Okay.
So that is the way of making models, I would say, because model making always takes a lot of unexpected delays and a lot of you fall into a lot of unexpected circumstances.
Correct.
So if you feel you're going to take 2 weeks to make this model, make it 3, I
Okay.
would say,
Okay.
right? So I cannot give a general clear cut thing कि यार 2 हफ्ता लगेगा ये मॉडल बनाने के लिए,
Correct.
right? For us it would take 3 days,
Correct.
right? Because we have put in that much effort. It used to take us 3 weeks or 4 weeks once upon a time. So there was a process that we went through. So if everyone goes through that process, it's very easy, I
Perfect.
think. I
One
think
last.
have we answered that question?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have
Yeah.
one last question.
Yes.
Uh, what is the advice that you would give to first year kids or people who
Advice.
want to go for architecture, who are giving NATA now or who are in like very early stages of architecture education?
Okay. Nice. Good question. So, like I said, you guys would have noticed after architecture, I went into industrial design. So, industrial design is another field
They should look
actually.
forward and
And
their own.
I actually honestly didn't know much about industrial design when I joined architecture. So, if I knew about industrial design, maybe I would have gone into industrial design on the first step itself. I wouldn't have gone through architecture. But the architectural education taught me a lot of things. So, I would suggest that at this point of time, there are a lot of fields of design a person can explore. At this moment, a student is at an advantage today in
Right.
that category. So you should explore. Architecture is not the only field of design that is available today. There are lots of fields of design because many of us after coming to SPA realize this
Right.
fact of life. A lot of us come to SPA thinking that uh, architectural design, we are interested in design, so we will do architectural design. We got into SPA, a lot of factors that come into play, right?
Right.
So we got a good rank and all that, all those things. So but like I said, if I had a choice beforehand, that time maybe I would have,
Gone for
gone for industrial design in the first place itself.
correct.
Right. So that was the thing. So a lot of people from SP after passing out, spending 5 years of architecture, they do things like this.
Yeah.
So that is a good 80% of our college, right? That's what our seniors tell us. I don't know how. So
Very
that's what our seniors tell us, that 80% of our college, right?
I
right.
want to ask
So
you a
someone
question.
is selling lighting and electrical
Right.
fixing.
Lighting and electrical fixing. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, good question actually. So when you talked about that's where the importance of planning comes into play, right? Like I said, we touched upon the importance of planning your model. So this part comes in finishing, thinking about lighting and electrical fixing. But you need to plan that in the first step itself, right? You need to source those things and you need to set it into your base, your circuit first, your electrical circuit. You need to set it into your base first. And so you leave points
Right.
at various points on your base, where then you can take your wires into your other fixtures. So depending on the complexity of your lighting and electrical fixing, like if you just want to show one layer of light, it's very simple, right? You just have one circuit, one end for the power and one end for the light. Now when you have multiple power circuits, when you have, like you said, we had one for street lights, we had one for cars. In that case, we have multiple circuits also, and then we have it in parallel
Correct.
also. So knowing a bit of electrical know-how is also important then when you want to put lighting and electrical fixing into your model. So you need to get yourself equipped with a little bit of the model, a little bit of the
Hmm.
specifications of the lighting and electrical, and then create your base accordingly. There will be different layers in your base for the circuit, for the switches, for the power up.
So we need to.
Uh-oh. Uh, 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 let me try to connect with them. Just give me a second. Just a second, guys. Okay, I'm really sorry. It seems like their laptop battery has ended, and it would take some time for them to reconnect. So anyway, I think we had a pretty long session today. Very informative, very informal, and this thing. So thank you for being here today. And thank you. I'll also say thank you from all of us to Nikhil and Fahim. On the other hand, if you want their Instagram handles, you go to Instagram. Acha, they are connecting again. Let us wait for some time. नहीं ठीक है. We'll stop here. So their handles are there on Instagram as we saw. आप उनसे अगर if you have any more questions about it, you can go and ask them right on
Yeah,
the.
yeah, we are back.
Oh, Fahim, okay, you are here. I just मैं अभी conclude ही कर रहा था session को.
Yeah. Sure.
Just one question if you can answer. If by from Jyoti, is there any specialization in model making after BARH?
Okay, no. There is no specialized. There is no specialized degree or anything that says you are a. There is no such thing.
No. There is nothing like that. You can acquire as a skill.
Yes.
But no.
It's about defining yourself.
Right.
You would like to define yourself as a model maker. There's no one stopping you from doing that.
Right. Okay. Chalo. Thank you, Fahim and Nikhil.
That's it.
Yeah, we'll stop now. It's been.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for coming. Thank you everybody for joining us today. We have another session at 5 p.m. With Pragya Gupta, who is an architect and who is also a social activist, and she's working with Feeding India by Zomato, and she's a Nagpur head. So I'll see you there at 5 p.m. Thank you, Fahim, again, and thank you, Nikhil, for the wonderful presentation. Thank you, everyone, and yes, thank you very much
for watching our presentation and daring this. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
It was lovely.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.